Hello, Canaan Cougars. It's Mr. Robert here, and I'm coming to you, well, almost live from my little studio at home. I've turned my little bedroom space into a temporary studio for today's video. And I'm going to do something I haven't done in a while. I'm going to actually take a children's story and apply a little music to it. Just kind of create the music in the moment. I haven't really pre-planned anything. I just got a few instruments out. But for a long time now, I have collected children's books because I love the illustrations. I've always enjoyed artwork. And this book, The Miami Giant, is written by Arthur Yorinks and was illustrated by one of my favorites, Maurice Sendak. He's also a great children's book author himself. He's a writer of children's books. Maurice Sendak did the illustrations, and Arthur Yorinks wrote the story, The Miami Giant. So I better get to it. Let me get an instrument in hand and get my page set up and start this wonderful story. Now, this is a story about travel, so let me get the globe out. And we're going to take a little journey. We've got an explorer. The story is about an explorer. So I'll grab this and The Miami Giant by Arthur Yorinks and Maurice Sendak. Amid great pomp, Giuseppe Gioini, that's Italian, Giuseppe Gioini, left Italy to look for China. The royal family sent him off with a great celebration. Now, there was fog and there was rain and wind. But at last, Giuseppe, let me get a little whistle for this, spotted land. Land ho! That's right. He spotted land. But instead of China, it was Miami. His crew comes on shore. My mommy? The dog says, my whomie? The other crew member says, Mayhemmy? Giuseppe says, so I swerved a little, maybe a wrong turn. Still, Gioini was a brilliant man. For there in Miami, he made a stunning discovery, a lost tribe of dancing giants. That's right. The Mishbookers of Miami. Mishbooker was a big family, see? And they lived there on Miami Beach, I'm sure. Now, left for themselves for many a century, the Mishbookers led a simple and primitive life. They ate, they slept, and they went bowling. Oh, what a find, what a find. Now, Giuseppe was excited. He says, hey, mister, me Giuseppe. Guy looks down, he says, well, God bless you. You speak English, do you? He says, well, my name's Joe Mishbooker. He says, I'm Giuseppe Gioini. We come from across the sea, a long way off. Of course, his dog is sniffing around, chewing on his pant leg. Arr. Joe, very friendly, says, so how about a bite to eat? And Giuseppe says, now this guy is stupendo. In Italian, that probably means he's pretty awesome. So they have a nice bite over a little bit of music, I'm sure. In a cafe. And it was afterwards that Mr. Gioini decided to show off some of the great wonders of the modern age, things that had been invented that he thought the Mishbookers maybe had missed. He showed them a clock, a telescope, iced tea. Maybe they missed that. And the Mishbookers, they showed off some of their achievements as well. Nice beads, carved some coconut heads. They are in Miami after all. And comfortable beach chairs. Molto stupendo, Giuini says. I must bring one back alive. So he's hatched this idea that he ought to bring back one of the great Mishbookers to Europe, that everybody would be excited to see this giant of a man. So Giuini applies some friendly persuasion. You know, Joe, you'd be huge in Europe. And Joe says, really? Giuseppe says, are you kidding? I'll make you a star, a huge star. So Joe starts packing immediately. And across the sea they go. And I'm sure that somewhere over there, there'd be someone on board that ship playing a little harmonica. Because after all, they're traveling a long way. They've gone from, let's see, where are we here? They've gone from Italy to Miami, and now they're going Miami back to Italy. Somehow they've entirely missed China. Up above, you hear the ship's bell ringing in the wind. Long trip back. Long trip back. But back in Italy, Mr. Giuini has rented Joe a nice palazzo. Now, a palazzo is a palace, a big home, a palatial, fancy home for Joe, a palazzo. Then he takes Joe out to a tailor, have a nice suit made. Yeah. I'm sure they did a little sightseeing. And then he takes Joe to a professional trainer to get him in shape for his debut. And more training. And even more training. Practice makes perfect. And Joe says, what, I gave up bowling for this? Oi, Giuini says. Now they go up to Paris in April, and they get a beautiful theater, and Giuini proudly unveils the Miami Giant. Big night, and it's here that Joe danced for the people. He gave them the Mishbooker Gavotte. Here it is. And he kept dancing. And the audience just went wild. They went crazy. In fact, they fled. But Joe kept right on dancing. Folks are saying, I want my money back. Run for your life. He's gone berserk. But Joe says, hey, wait, I'm not finished. Pandemonium ensued. That was crazy. The place was nuts. Mad Giant on the loose. And finally the police came out. And they've decided they're going to, instead of shooting, they're going to drop a brick on Joe's head. Something like that. Sounds a little like a brick falling and hit him on the head, doesn't it? Giuseppe comes up, he says, Joe, speak to me, speak to me. Joe wakes and he says, oh, next time maybe I'll just tell jokes. Oy vey. So at this point, Giowini decides to bring Joe back home to Miami. Long trip, remember? And with a little melon and some Miami sunshine, Joe recovered nicely. Then the great explorer bid his friend Joe a farewell and went on to discover Boca Raton. And the Mishbookers, some say they moved to Long Island, but this is not a proven fact. There it is, the Miami Giant. Lots of fun, right? With just a few instruments and a bit of just making it up on the spot, a little creativity. You can take a book and make it a little story, and in this case, even with sound effects, not even with always playing an instrument, you can make sound effects that give the story a little bit of life. So there it is. Fabulous book called The Miami Giant by Arthur Yorinks and Maurice Sendak, of course, one of my favorites from my personal collection. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And take care of yourselves and keep on dancing until I see you.